Hello students, this is Dr. Dakshayini, Assistant Professor from Department of Zoology, Maharani Science College for Women, Bengaluru. Students, in this session, let us study and understand about prawn fisheries, emphasizing on types of prawn fisheries and prawn culture under economic zoology. The contents as follows: introduction, species of prawn, types of prawn fisheries, and prawn culture. Students, as we all know that prawn is a crustacean which is commercially known as shrimp and commonly known in different parts of the country as chingri, jhinga, kolambi, suganta, etc. Due to its nice taste, it is supposed to be a cherished delicacy to serve as food throughout the world. There are different varieties of prawns inhabiting sea, freshwater, lakes, rivers, and estuaries. Prawn fisheries plays an important role in the economy of India, where prawns are of considerable value and plays a major role in foreign exchange too. Where India is among the topmost prawn producing countries in the world, and it exports to various countries like USA, Japan, and Australia. Recently, Indian fisheries departments are paying much attention for wide scale propagation of prawn farming in the country through scientific and technological uses, where practice of prawn fisheries has offered opportunities to increase incomes for farmers and associated groups. Let us see the systematic position of prawn. It belongs to kingdom Animalia, phylum Arthropoda, class Crustacea, and family Penidae for marine forms and Paleomonidae for freshwater forms. As we all know that prawn is found living in rivers, oceans, lakes, and even estuaries, where it is a bottom dweller, which means they are found on muddy or sandy river beds and ocean floors. It is a carnivorous and need a plentiful supply of food, where it feeds on the algae and some plant particles, and also it feeds on tiny animals, fish, and planktons. They are also a good predators. Example, pistol prawn. Coming to the types of prawn. Prawn inhabits all sort of waters, that is seawater, freshwater, and estuaries of temperate and tropical countries. Their greatest quality lies in their adaptation to changing factors like temperature, oxygen concentration, and salinity. Coming to the species of prawn in India. There are about 5 genera of prawns are reported, and they are as follows. The first one is the Penaeus, second one is Metapenaeus, the third one is Parapenaopsis, the fourth one is Paleomon, and fifth one is Macrobrachium. Let us see the species of these genera. That is Penaeus indicus. It is the most common commercially grown prawn species, which is found both in coast, that is in east and west coastal areas, where it attains the maximum length of up to 20 centimeters. Penaeus monodon This is the largest sea prawn found in Indian waters of sea east and west coast. It attains the maximum length of 30 centimeters. Penaeus japonicus. It is mostly found in sea coast of east areas and it attains the maximum length of 26 centimeters. Penaeus semisulcatus. This is mostly found in both West Bengal coast and Mumbai coast, and this can attain the maximum length of 20 centimeters. Penaeus marginus. This is found both in east and west coast of India, and it is the main species for easily catching species, and this can attain the maximum length of 18 centimeters. The next one is the Metapenaeus affinis. This is commonly found in paddy fields of West Bengal, and sometimes it also found in the Mumbai coast, where it can attain the length of 13 centimeters when it is fully grown. Metapenaeus domsoni. This is commonly found in brackish water and estuaries, and it is dominant species in the Kerala coast areas, and fishing is done throughout the year, where it can attain the maximum length of 11 centimeters and its lifespan is 3 years. Metapenaeus morocerosus. This is found in the entire coastline and it is common for estuarine waters, and it can attain the maximum length of 17 centimeters. Parapeneopsis stylifera. This is found in west coast and attains the maximum length of 11 centimeters and lifespan is 2 years. Coming to the freshwater prawns, one is Macrobrachium cassinus. It is the migratory and it is brackish water species. It attains the maximum length of 30 centimeters and it is highly demanded species for freezing and export. The other one is Macrobrachium idea. This is commonly found in Kerala coast water and it attains the maximum length of 26 centimeters. Macrobrachium malacomsoni. This is a migratory species generally found in Chilka Lake and this attains the maximum length of 15 centimeters. The next one is the Macrobrachium mirabilis. This is an important prawn where it is found in the West Bengal estuaries and it attains the maximum length of 23 centimeters. Coming to the types of prawn fisheries. Based on the quality, topography and nature of water, prawn fisheries can be broadly classified into shallow water prawn fishery, saline water prawn fishery, estuary prawn fishery, marine water prawn fishery and freshwater prawn fishery. Let us see in detail about it. Shallow water prawn fishery, where fishing is restricted to shallow water near the coast. And during the monsoon time, that is in the month of June to August, where the fish shoals comes near to the coast and fishermen are able to catch the prawns with cast nets. Saline lake prawn fishery, where Chilka lakes and Brahmaputra river on the east coast are important areas, and Chilka lake is much rich in prawn production. Third one is the estuary prawn fishery. In estuaries, generally immature prawns are found It is maybe due to certain food and other environmental limitations. The fourth one is the marine water prawn fishery, where marine prawns, mostly from Indian coast, belonging to family Pennidae, and the three genera like Penaeus, Metapenaeus, and Parapenaeus, which are commonly found in the marine water, where marine and brackish water are used for spawning, and after spawning the hatchings are drifted along with the current to the coastal waters, where they undergo development till the juvenile stage, and for breeding purpose they come back to sea. The last one is the freshwater prawn fishery, where it is done throughout the country from river, lakes, pond and other freshwater resources. In case of low salinity, some of the species are also caught from the brackish water, where it are temporarily, that is chiefly for breeding, where the spawning takes place in the fresh water, and after spawning the hatchings are drifted to estuaries for development, and after attaining the juvenile stage they are swim back to the fresh water. Coming to the prawn fishing. Prawns are being fished from all types of water, where the bulk production comes from the sea, where estuaries generally produce immature prawns. The methods employed for fishing prawns are somewhat similar to that of the fishes, and prawn fishery is seasonal, where the ideal season for fishing at Bombay coast is from August to October, and in Saurashtra it is from July to September. Whereas on the eastern coast it starts from monsoon and extends up to March-April, where fishing is done throughout the year in the backwaters of Kerala. The different lakes have different fishing seasons. In fresh water it extends from March to June-July. There are various types of nets are used for prawn fishing. Among them, the commonest type used on both coasts is the boat seam, where in estuaries and backwaters a peculiar type of conical net supported by a pair of stakes is being used, and this net has a wide mouth and is set against the tide. You can have a look at this picture, where the tidal water brings the prawn and other crustaceans which get engulfed in such nets. The other types of nets like cast net, drag net, wall net, etc. are also extensively used for this purpose, where the small nets and several other devices like trapping of prawns by clothes, by making small fences, are being used in paddy fields, which are also used for this purpose. Coming to the prawn culture, or it is also known as prawn farming. Prawn culturing is an aquaculture business which is designed to raise and produce freshwater prawns, or the prawns which are human consumption. The purpose of prawn culture is to convert ponds, tanks, paddy fields, estuaries and marine coastal waters into a productive places. Where there are two methods of prawn farming. The old and conservative process, which is commonly known as traditional method, and it is widely used in India. On the other hand, the countries like Philippines, Japan, USA, Taiwan, which are employing modern techniques for this purpose, and this method is known as intensive prawn culture. So as a whole, there are two processes of prawn culturing. One is traditional method, the other one is intensive method. Let us see the traditional method. In the traditional method, the ponds which are situated near estuarine and brackish water areas are selected, where these ponds remain connected with the outer main tidal streams by channels or the sluice gates, in which the suitable environments like depth, salinity and nature of soil are created in advance. When the incoming tide reaches the height of about 50 centimeters, that is about the pond level, the channel gates are opened and the prawns are allowed to enter the pond, where a mesh screen is placed near the gate to prevent the escape of the post-larval stages of prawn. The developing prawns depends only on the natural diet. Sometimes if are supplemented with other foods, it also depends upon the supplemented diet. Where the collection or harvesting is generally done by draining out the pond water in such a way that it prevents the escape of prawns. The another method of harvesting is to set up bag nets or the bamboo traps near the channel gates or the sluice gates. And the one more method is that during night electric bulbs are switched on, which attracts the prawns and are easily trapped. The other method is the intensive farming, where in intensive farming it is extensively used in Japan, which includes not only the rearing of post-larval stages of prawn, but also its breeding and spawning at desired places by providing the artificial environment. In this method, where matured males and females are released in small concrete tanks having an ideal environment for prawn development, where the temperature and oxygen concentration of the tank is maintained artificially through aeration, and after spawning the adults are removed in order to save the possible destruction of eggs and hatchings by the parents. Where the early larval stages are fed with phytoplanktons, especially on the diatoms, and the post-larval stages are fed with the worms, minced fleshes of fishes, and once the considerable size is attained, the larvae are transferred to the production ponds, where the production ponds have two openings, which in turn are connected to the main stream of the water through the water pipes. With the help of hydraulic pumps, the water in the ponds is made circulated and the mesh screens are fixed at the outlets and as well as in the inlets of the ponds, which will not allow the prawns to move out of the pond. And as a whole, this method gives much more production than the traditional method. And then there are some fluctuations which largely depends upon the type and suitable conditions of the culture ground. Coming to the methods of prawn culture. There are various methods of prawn culture where prawns can be cultured in freshwater as well as in salty water. In freshwater, as in pond, different types of prawns can be cultured, such as Macrobrachium rosenbergi, Macrobrachium rude, and Macrobrachium malacosoni. In saline water, as in paddy fields and brackish water, the prawns which are cultured are mainly from the different species of Penaeus, that is tiger prawn, such as Penaeus indicus and Penaeus monodonate, where Penaeus monodon becomes more popular and it is high in demand in the market, where it is cultivated most extensively and it is reared, which is financially benefited. So based on the type of water body which is used for the prawn culture, it can be classified into salty water prawn culture and freshwater prawn culture. In salty water prawn culture, where paddy fields and brackish water are used, whereas in freshwater prawn culture, the ponds are used for the prawn culture. In paddy fields, that is, the paddy fields are used for prawn culture, where the cultivation in paddy fields is more extensively done in different regions of the world. In this culturing method, the paddy fields are selected, which are fed by irrigation canals, where it serves as a most favorable condition for the prawn culture. At the time of onset of monsoon, where paddy fields are manured and then seedlings are planted, and this paddy fields becomes ideal for the culturing of prawns. This picture shows the culturing of prawns in the paddy fields. Let us see the brackish water prawn culture. Prawns are cultured in the mild saline water in various places. There are some well-built enclosures which are connected with the feeder canals through the channel gates, that is the sluice gates, where these channel gates are manipulated mechanically, where inside the channel gates some split bamboo screens in the form of inverted V or W shaped are fixed, and the screens are fixed in such a way that the larvae of prawns can enter inside the enclosure along with the incoming water through the feeder canal, but it cannot escape out from the enclosure. Coming to the freshwater prawn culture, which is most widely used method, where major commercial prawn species are reared using freshwater prawn culture. The species which are cultured are Macrobrachium rosenbergi and Macrobrachium malacosoni, where adults are found in fresh water and larval stages are found living in the brackish water after attaining the juvenile stage. Let us see the steps involved in freshwater prawn culture. These are some technical requirements for the establishment of freshwater prawn culture. The steps involved in freshwater prawn culture are: first one is site selection, the second step is farm construction, the third step is production system, the fourth step is harvesting and processing. The first step is the site selection, which includes the climatic conditions, topography of the location, soil quality and water quality. The site selection plays an important role as the entire management aspect of the farm ultimately depends on specific conditions of the site. And they are as follows. One is the climatic conditions, where warm climate is the most important factor affecting the prawn production. That is, the tropical and subtropical climates are most suitable when the culture period is too long, while warm temperate climate is suitable where the culture period is very short. There are other climatic conditions also affects, like rainfall, evaporation, sunlight, wind speed. These are also found to play a critical role in the site selection. The other factor is topography of the location, where the ideal site must be flat or gently sloped. And the low-lying lands, waterlogged areas, salinity and alkalinity also affects the areas and are used for construction of scampi farms. The third factor is soil quality. The soil texture must be sandy clay loam or silt clay with at least 85% water retention capacity. The other aspect is the water quality, where the availability of quality and quantity of water is a critical factor, and water should be free from the pollution and having the dissolved oxygen content of about 3 to 7 ppm. The second step in freshwater prawn culture is farm construction, where after fulfilling all the suitable site location requirements, the next step is the construction of farm. The design must suit the operational convenience and biological necessity of the prawn, and it includes size and depth, the dike, and water supply and drainage system. For operational convenience, a minimum area of 1 acre is widely accepted size of the farm, and depending on the local conditions, the size may vary between half to 5 hectares. The constructed pond should have the capacity to hold at least 1.5 to 2 meters of water inside, where the bottom of the ponds needs to be sloped towards the drainage point, that is dike, where the drainage system should be designed carefully to prevent mixing of outlet water with the incoming water. The appropriate water supply and drainage system have to be designed, which is keeping in view the water sources, where the pond should be easy to drain out the water, and groundwater is preferable for filling the ponds as it is free from the pollution. This picture shows the setting up of the farm construction with the ponds and good water supply and drainage system to the ponds. The third step is the production system, which includes fertilization, larval development, and feeding the larvae. In this step, where a typical male to female ratio is maintained in the brood stock, in which the copulation is allowed and the fertilization takes place externally, where after copulation the female carries the fertilized eggs, which is orangish in color, and after 2 or 3 days before hatching, the eggs turns to be grayish black in color. After the fertilization and after collecting the beard females, that is the female carrying the fertilized eggs, the beard females are allowed to spawn in the spawning tank overnight, and after which the eggs are transferred to the hatching tank, in which the eggs are hatched into larvae. The first stage larva is called as zoea, which are very small in size, about 2 mm, and grow through 11 larval stages and to almost 8 mm after metamorphosis into post-larval forms, where individual metamorphosis can be achieved in 16 days, but usually it takes much longer depending on the environmental conditions. The feed and feeding, where feed management plays a very crucial role in prawn culture. Moreover, natural food is preferred over supplementary food, but due to lack of natural food and to increase the growth and quality of production, supplementary food is used, where the supplementary food includes agricultural and animal husbandry byproducts along with locally available cheap foods like broken rice, topico root, trash fish, and vegetable and animal feeds, which are mixed in adequate proportions. The feed is produced in pellet form, which should sink in water quickly and should be intact for at least few hours till they are completely consumed by the prawns. And prawns are generally fed only once in a day, and food pellets are distributed uniformly on the surface of the pond, are placed in wide containers which are set up at several points along the margins of the pond, where the rate of feeding depends upon the age of prawns. This slide shows the whole production system, that is from fertilization, the larval development, feed and the feeding. Coming to the last step in the freshwater prawn culture, that is harvesting and processing. where pond red giant prawns reaches remarkable size within 5 to 8 months depending upon the stocking rate and other culture conditions. Generally, giant prawns do not grow at uniform rate and there is a difference in the size which appears in spite of stocking and seed from the same brood. Hence, size for harvest must be checked from time to time. Harvesting can be done partially or completely, where partial harvesting is done for removing larger prawns from the pond at regular intervals. For partial harvesting, nets are especially designed to capture only the large prawns and which excludes the smaller ones. Whereas in complete harvesting prawns, where the prawns are harvested by draining the ponds, and draining is done in the early mornings to avoid overeating of the water when only little water is left in the pond. In the final stage, when the prawns are near the outlet, they must be provided with fresh oxygenated water. This slide shows the partial harvesting as well as the complete harvesting, where in the complete harvesting the ponds are drained, letting the water completely out and completely collecting the fully grown prawns. There are certain precautionary measures as to be taken during freshwater prawn culture, where careful handling is essential during harvesting to ensure good quality products. And freshwater prawns tend to grow mushy if not handled and processed correctly. Firstly, it is essential to prevent prawns from becoming crushed during harvesting. Secondly, if they are not going to be solid live, they should be killed in a mixture of water and ice at 0 degrees Celsius immediately after harvesting and washed in chlorinated tap water. Prawns for live sale can be transported in aerated water at 20 to 22 degrees Celsius, and prawns sold fresh must not be kept at ice for more than 3 days. And the prawns for frozen sale, it must be quickly frozen at minus 10 degrees Celsius and stored at minus 20 degrees Celsius or below. And during prawn culture, the growth of the prawns must be checked, and during this phase where diseases has to be controlled and the prawn should be protected from disease causing, where several diseases affect freshwater prawn larvae as well as the adults. Some hatcheries use formalin at the rate of 200 ppm daily as an effective remedy for protozoan and hydrozoan parasites and also for fungal diseases. And formalin can also be used at a lower level of about 30 ppm for longer periods, followed by water change after every 24 hours. And it can also be controlled, where larvae can also be transferred to disinfecting tanks every 5 to 10 days to get rid of diseases and parasites. And there should be daily dip of larvae in malachite green for 30 minutes, which is used as a treatment, and dipping in copper sulfate is also done for 6 hours. Along with that, antibiotics and sulfur drugs are sometimes used to control the filamentous bacteria, and some hatcheries use lime as an prophylactic measure to control the diseases. Students, hope you could understand in detail about prawn fisheries, which was emphasized on species of prawns in India, types of prawn fisheries, and prawn culture in this session. These are the references from books and website for your reference. Thank you.